Boom! Good evening, good afternoon, good day, wherever you are and wherever you may be. My name is Samuel Davis III, and I am the host of Uplift Our Community podcast. Oh my goodness. Powered by Bridge Visions. Got a lot of stuff. Got a question I'm going to ask y'all today. So today is a little different day. I got the full crew of people in here, and I'm looking like there we go. We got a Facebook issue going here. Okay, we are live, and okay. So, question is, what adulting skills or skill did you learn way too late? What adulting skill did you learn way too late? Now, I'm saying this because I want to give a couple examples of some things that got me caught up. And I'm just curious. I want to bring it to the studio and to the audience out there as well. Anybody who's listening in, if you are interested in joining into the chat and the conversation, please use the QR code that you see listed up in the corner here, and that will get you into the studio so you can give us any of your comments or your concerns or thoughts on what we're discussing. As I was growing up, I left the house at 18. I left for the military. I was left into the military at 18. I went to San Antonio, Texas for my boot camp, and I was away from home for the first time. And I wasn't really prepped for life. I was just ready to get out, ready to go. And I learned a lot of things on the fly, talking to people, listening, watching, and observing other fellow airmen and other individuals, hearing the stories that my my first shirt, we call him first shirt, the guy who was in charge of us, he would talk to us and he would tell us about individuals who messed up and how they got thrown out of the military or what they did or certain things that they did to get thrown out, bouncing checks, fighting, drinking, just all those different things. So my question today, just as an easy kickoff to our weekend here, what what adulting skill did you learn way too late? One thing that I definitely want to add on to that was cooking. I didn't cook for myself. I'm not gonna say I was a mama's boy, but my mother definitely fed us and we always had something to eat. So cooking was one thing that I caught on to later on. Of course, you making cereal and things like that. But I just want to ask you guys. I'm bringing you on right now. I'm bringing the crew in. With that being said, we have Gordon Chavez, Benji, and Jay Harris. Question. I'm gonna start off with you, Gordon. You got the boys. You got. I think boys are definitely a lot rougher to start off with me. So I'm going to start off with you because I think you had to apply. Your children are definitely younger than mine. So this is the start, and I'm sure that you are doing things that when you were growing up that you thought were important for you. You're passing on to your children. So with that being said, what adulting skill did you learn way too late?
Yeah, no, thanks, Sam. That's a great question. And you had mentioned before we went on live, the first thing that came to my mind is finance, taxes, budgeting, all that. We had home ec when I was a kid, but guys didn't take home ec when we were kids, right?
I did. I did.
Did you? Did you? Yeah.
I did.
So it was just not, financial stuff was just not taught, man. I went out in the world. I remember I left home when I was 17 and I went to go live with an uncle of mine, and I was working, I was going to school. And I remember I worked at a Vaughn's. I worked in the produce department, and every day I would leave early and I'd walk past the Wells Fargo kiosk, and the Wells Fargo guy there was like, "Man, you got banking hours. You leave before I do every day." And so he caught my attention. He would start to ask questions, and I tell him, I'm working, I'm going to school, all of that. He's like, "Do you have a credit card?" And I thought to myself, I was like, that's kind of a weird question, right? But credit card. He's like, "Yeah, you can get student credit cards to pay for books, to pay for expenses for school and all of that stuff." So I was like, Okay. And I had no clue about credit at all. And so I signed up, and sure enough, I got a credit card. My balance was $700. And how many books do you think I bought with that credit card? Man, I did not buy one single thing for school for that credit. I had a new stereo in my house. I had, you know, I was getting CD because music was like my thing, and I was getting all the latest CDs, and I was like, "Dang, this is amazing! That you can just spend money like like it's easy." And sure enough, like 3, 4 years later, I ended up paying $4,000 after all the interest that accrued and all, just because I needed to get it off my credit, and I had no clue. I had no idea what this would do to me in the future. And so for me, the first thing I thought about is credit. And with my 4 boys, I'm trying to teach them that so that they don't go through the same stuff that I went through. I help them, I don't, I try not to do it too pushy, but I help them open the right kinds of bank accounts, and
Mm,
and teach them how to use their credit cards and how to pay off the balance every month 100%. All None of this 20, 25%, credit sitting on your balance. Pay the whole thing off. and
mm,
and so that's what I thought about when you said is just money management, but credit was something that I did not have a clue on when I
mm,
was 19, 20 years old.
mm. That's a big one. That's a huge one. And the thing is, it's like with my in-laws that live with us, 89 and 90 years old. It's predatory. Some predatory stuff going on here. I'm checking emails. I mean, they get more mail, and they haven't even went out and got jobs or anything here, and they're getting more mail than me. And on the front, there are pictures of a little homeless child,
Mm,
or send money to Africa. It's predatory, man. I mean, they get more mail than me, and they're not even doing anything. They're hoping to get a hold of their savings accounts and things like that, obviously. But
yeah.
finances are a huge one, huge one. Speaking of finances, now I'm gonna bring up the senior statesman up here in the group. You know what that is. Benji one day, Benji one day we had a conversation, and I'm just gonna throw. I know it's not gonna be. I know it's not gonna be finances with you, Benji, because
Mm-mm.
Benji one day made the comment. Yeah, when you lose your first million, it's nothing. It ain't nothing. That's when it gets easier after that. Benji made that comment, and I'll tell you what, got my head thinking like, who in the hell is this guy? What
Mm.
in the world is going on? So Benji, with that being said, um, is there any skills, being that you are the senior out of us? Are there any skills? Is there a skill set? Is there anything that you can pass on that you didn't learn early that you learn now?
I think finance is important. I still don't learn those things, and here's why. There's some things you have to understand who we are, what we are. The first thing is like like offensive and defensive. You could be offensive and defensive. My friend is just like Gordon, very defensive and financial and grow money and things like that. I'm very offensive. I make a whole lot of money. I spend a whole lot of money. These are the things. What I did not learn the skill set is the discipline of that, right?
Mm,
So that's the thing. So you have to know where you are in the game, right?
mm,
Are you going to take a big swing at it? Are you going to take a single today? Is the situation playing in the right way that we can do a home run today? Things like that was something I had to learn in a situational thing. Right now, the season is slow. Things like that, you got to be a little more aware. So you take what you can, and then when things are a little more fluid, then you take a bigger swing. Right? That's
mm,
the discipline of that as you get older, for sure. But the difference is like you still know it's going to be like the anxiety and a lot of stuff, but you learn to go through that process as you
mm.
get older. This is the third time of the recession I went through. So I kind of been through it a few times already.
So let me ask you this. I'm not trying to get too much into your
Mm,
financial bitch. This is the
mm,
third time that you went through this financial dip that you're
mhm,
saying, as
yeah.
in losing another million
Hmm.
dollars.
Hmm. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Boy, I love to have
So
that kind of
so
problem,
so
boy.
so 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 here's the thing. Some people have that gradual growth. I'm the opposite because I'm a risk taker. I'm a home run hitter. I don't barely hit any single. Like when my best friend Brian, always single, 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 and he great. I'm the opposite. I could go from like 1 million to zero, and then 10 million, and then zero, and that's kind of where we are, right? And you got to have that power for it because that's like I have the ape personality, right? I'm all in, all out, right? So when I say sometimes when things go sideways, I'm borderline homeless, and that's not a joke. But that's the reason I don't have a lot to carry. I live in hotels. You know,
Mhm.
I pretty much live on a cabin. I don't have that huge amount. So when I, consolidate things with my exes, I really don't have that bigger responsibility like I used to have. So in
Mhm.
some way, that's what happened. But that's what I, but I staged my life that way. I can
Mhm.
pack and go quickly, right? And so it's harder. That's why I don't have children, like a birth children of my own, right? I,
That's
I
why you
don't.
don't have children, Benji.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the main reason why.
Yeah, I cannot do it. I cannot like for example, like the conversation we have just before we got on about the homeless man with the dog. I
Mhm.
can't do that because
Mhm.
when I'm ready to fight, I can't be worrying about that dog.
Mhm.
Right. So when I'm ready to go battles and do things with the business, I can't be worrying about my exes or my kids and things like that. Right. That's a thing. So who can do that and have all that responsibility? That's great, but that's not who I am at all.
Mm, okay. Well, you know, Benji, the other thing about you that kind of gets me as I listen to you, you're a very passionate man. And
Oh,
I would hate to put a samurai sword in your hand when you get pissed off or something,
Mm.
'cause you're the kind of guy that might just go off like, whoa. And it's a very wise thing right now that the fact
yeah,
that you are that you brought up discipline. Please
yeah.
forgive me about this phone here, but
No, no, no.
discipline is
Yeah,
a big one. I still have
yeah,
a problem with discipline right now. So
yeah.
with you saying that discipline, I had discipline instilled in me, and a lot of that was from the military. Going in the military, now I had the rule of fist and law from my father. Of course, that's a level of discipline. That's a whole other story. But disciplining yourself and having it and applying it to yourself. That's pretty big. At what age were you? Do you think that that discipline actually hit you?
Actually, it's funny. This is kind of ironic because I don't have kids of my own. But then when I got married the last time, I inherited kids and grandkids, right? At the time, I was building my company, right? And at the time, I was not making the income, but I got like three, four kids that I had to maintain, right? So, so I told them they never have gone without. They don't know what happened, and they understand that. And I would tell them later, you notice why I don't eat sometime because I want to make sure you eat first because I
Wow.
don't need to eat. I'm a guy and I can battle. So that's why when you get new clothes, I don't have to have anything. Because like when I travel and stuff, my suit, my dress clothes pretty much is in the format of like, okay, you know, 3 to 4 dress jacket, 2 jacket, and khakis and go to those things. I was minimum before we were popular, right? And, those are things. And when we get more income and things like that, then we go to places and do things like that. But normally, that's what happened. That's when the discipline started. That's when I realized, okay, I still can do this. I have to be limited on what I'm doing here. And like I actually never have a brand new phone.
Never.
iPhone always use because I always give it to them. I have never have like a brand new laptop. It's always a few years old. But the thing is, I told them you don't need all that to make money because I made a point to them. Let me show you. I'm going to buy this $300 laptop and show you how much I can make off this laptop. And they're like, "Are you got to be kidding me?" And I made $250,000 for that laptop. And they're like, "This is crazy." So the point I was trying to convey to them is like, it's not so much the material; it's what you got here. And these are things that you got to be convinced of. Now, was it easy? No. It would have been a lot easier if I had a better laptop. But the point was this, I was trying to make a point.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, in my mid 40s, probably.
Okay. Well, with that being said, this next person that's going to come up and speak, he may not be rich in pockets, but he's definitely rich in spirit. It's Jerome. I want to ask you. With that being said, listening to Benji and being that you probably out of all of us have hands and boots on the ground in that area of finances with what you do with your food service. Um, question. The question is, what adulting skill did you learn way too late?
All right. Well, first of all, we talking about rich, not in spirit or whatever. All right. You got your jab. We're for the week. Okay. All right. We got you out the way there. All right. So the deal is, all right. All right. So, all right. I'm back. I'm getting back into the front line. I found the most important thing, especially dealing with my intellectual properties, being an inventor, so on and so forth. World travel. Thank you very much, Mr. Samuel David Affairs. Okay. The deal is that I found that really respecting other people's time, but making sure that mine is respected. Those boundaries and the energy. You know, I accept that I'm great. I like to feel like I'm great at a lot of things, but I'm going to be horrible doing everything. Okay. So I have to really, I had to really, you know, set boundaries on the time and projects that I would get myself involved in. And I've learned I learned a lesson about 5-6 years ago at this, it was an entrepreneurs conference, and I'm what you call a starter, you know, so I don't necessarily want to run companies, but get them off the ground, getting up and running to a point where you can sell them, all for it. Okay. So the deal is that I found that so much energy has been taken from my work because other people want to start or keep running those startups, and it's just I can't give all that time, but I can allow myself those 3 major projects where I can give the time efficiently, and being able to put myself in a situation where not only efficient in communication, but efficient also in setting the goals and making those the short-term goals very manageable so that you can build on for your long-term success. So that was very important for me to learn. And with the first step of just really being mindful of my time and commitment to other projects and other people.
Did you learn that yourself, or did you watch that? I mean, did that come because that observance that shows a level of patience to be observant like that? So was that something that just came? Was that innate? Did that just pop up for you, or what?
No, I have friends. I have some friends out in LA, and we had a really great sit down because I was fulfilling 4 to 5 jobs of the startup, and one of my associates, you know, just pulled me aside and said, "Man, you know, they're asking too much of you. You're putting yourself in all these departments." And I said, "Well, I'm the only one that knows how it works." And I get that, but that's problem of delegation. You know, you have to make sure you put the right people in the right place so you do not drain yourself. So that I carry that lesson with me everywhere I go now, and whatever projects I deal with, because I might be the best person to sweep the floor, cool, because I want it swept a certain way or what have you. I might be the best person to help on accounting because I know the routes and procedures. I want certain things to be accomplished. But the fact of the matter is, I can't do that, and I can't do all those jobs because I'm going to mess up. It increases the chances of me making those mistakes. So having associates pulling me aside and just saying, "We know what you're doing. We appreciate it, but you are burning yourself out. You can't help everybody." Okay. I just had this thing about me where I just didn't want to let people down, and I'm just like, "Oh, I could do this. I could do that." We know you can do it, but if you do it simply because you can, you're going to be in a position where you can't, So that's where I had to really just, and I learned that lesson probably within the last 8 years or so. And I've been working on getting better at that.
Okay. So I'm going to go back with Gordon real quick, because Gordon started off with finances, and I want to ask you, the question I want to kind of follow up with you is this: what did it cost you before you finally learned the lesson of finances? What did it cost you?
I think that one was a really big wake up moment, because I let it go, right? I through my ignorance, I was like, so what? I got this, this bad thing on my credit. I've never even used my credit. I don't know how it works. And then we got to a point where my wife and I wanted to buy a house, and that's when everything came to light. And that's when I had to actually, okay, there's no way to get around it. I need to get rid of this thing on my credit. This I forget what it's called, but it was keeping me from accomplishing this goal of becoming a homeowner, and that's where everything changed, and there was no way to get around it. So.
Okay. So I'm gonna ask that same. I'm gonna ask that same thing to you, Benji. What was it that you lost out on? Because I know you said that you had initially you didn't have any children. I mean,
Yeah.
that was an intentional thing.
Mhm.
That that's pretty big.
Yeah. For a lot of people, but that's not my life though. And the thing is, this is what I'm saying to you. It's like I was meant to be like this, and this is the reason for me like that. I don't mind being with the kids and grandkids; they're important to me, but they're not like birth kids to me. But I'll show up for them every given day. What the whole thing about this? What we lost and things like that? The lack of discipline is time, right? I lost the time, right? And I had to remake up the time. Those are things that I can't take back. I can make money. I can't make time. That's the thing that's hard to swallow. Let me backtrack a little bit about the credit thing. Okay, I understand that's important and all that. I understand about all that. And I'll share something with you, Gordon. At the time, I had to learn the same thing. At some point, I don't know where it was, but right now my credit is like even at over 700, like mine is like seven something right now. I still got to pay on a business loan 24%. So see, the thing is about people don't understand about banking. They're the one that they pay the game, right? They understand the game. So I pay I pay three houses. I pay one off and I pay two for my exes, and my credit at the time was bad. When you have money, credit mean nothing, right? You can overcome all that right there pretty quickly. So neither you play the game the way they set it for you, or you reset the board. Trump does it. Rich people does it. We're just not there yet. I'm still like at a certain level. I can't pass that because if I go to the bank right now to get a loan, unless I lighten my skin, put a suit back on, ain't gonna happen. And change my name to John Smith, ain't gonna happen. So that's the reality of our game. So I know that you guys invest in that, but be aware. Part of our responsibility to make our life better for our children. My kids are white, right? They ain't gonna have that problem. Brooklyn is white as all get out. So you can go get a loan easier than I can get a loan. So these are things that's I'm saying with that, okay? So, and here's the reality too. If AI go the way it go right now, if AI go the way it go right now, in the next 15, 20 years, money's gonna be gone. There is not gonna be like money society at this point. And that's where it's heading.
Wow. Well, I kind of like the way you threw that little subtleness of racism in there, Benji. Just a little bit of racism. Just that little small little curveball went in there. Why do you feel that racism or race has something to do with that? Is it different for Jerome than it is for me? Why would you throw that out there? I'm just curious.
Because if if my friend Brian also got 750 credit, he can get like a 12 to 8% loan. I get a 24% loan. When I went and did the venture capitalist, I got 80,000. My friend got 2 million. The difference is my name is Trichinda, right? Okay, let's just say it. Let's put it that way. Same concept, same venture capitalist, same thing. You can say whatever you want. It's just the way it goes. 2 million and 80,000, that's a huge difference, right? And so these are things like you can say he's a better salesman. Not really. I'm the one to sell this stuff for him, right? So I know these are kind of things that I go through all the time. The question is, do you want to play in that game or reset the board? And that's where we are right now. And so this is where when I talk to Gordon and our people, I want people to understand it's time for us to uplift our people so that we can change the board. Right now, Trump is trying to reset the board so that all credit card can only be 10% interest. That'd be so tremendous, but the banking people will lose their mind, right?
Yeah.
Right. So things like that happen. And so when you do business and things like that, I mean, this is what like Rich Dad Poor Dad talk about. You want to be rich, you got to carry debt. And it's almost impossible for people like us to carry that kind of heavy debt. Like Rich Dad Poor Dad, I mean, his debt level is like over $1 billion, but he also owned like over $1 billion in real estate. But these are things that you have to learn from that point of view. So things like that. So, but yeah, I, I'm I'm a hippie, man. I grew up in the '70s, man. I'm like, I am not going to work for the man. Unfortunately, that's what happened right now. I'm lunatic.
well, listen. I can't not let our financial specialist Gordon make comment on that. Gordon,
Exactly.
You have anything to say on that? With what Benji just said, because he said a lot. Will you tell me what you got to say about it?
I love what Benji said, because what the main idea was that you either play the game by the rules that are set for you, or you make your own rules. And if you're in a position to make your own rules, that's amazing, right? And so I think that for the viewers, I guess if you could say, my take on what Benji was saying is that if you are a go-getter that's out there getting that money that you can make for yourself, you can be independent of the banking system. And if you can invest in assets, then you can borrow from yourself instead of borrowing from the banking system. If there's many assets that you can use to be able to access funds from those, versus always having to either get a credit card, get a loan, or anything like that. Finance, even liabilities, even if you need to buy a car or things like that, you can do that in a way where you're not dependent on the things that the credit, the things that the bank asks, the debt to income ratio and things like that, credit report, credit scores, payment history. They make you jump through all these hoops. Whereas if you are liquid and you have a lot of cash and you're able to earn a lot of cash at a moment's notice, then you can be independent of that. And so I think it's a great point that Benji was making.
Okay. Jerome, you got anything to say about that?
No.
Well, not a problem. I figured that you might have said something, because you're dealing with finances in a whole different way, and being the fact that that word race just slipped in there just very slightly, and being that you're running a nonprofit over there, I was just wondering if that had any effect for you.
I don't see color. I couldn't finish that. Sorry.
Well, here's what this is really my slide to this. Support your local banking. Like, for example, I should have gone to my people bank instead of going to Wells Fargo or all these other people, right? Go to my local community bank, go to my credit union bank. The people that support me, yes, they are not going to be the upper echelon of convenience, but we should support them. I should have gone to Chinatown and go to my Chinatown bank and build a relationship with them, right? Because of all the people, they've always been loyal to me, right? So, and these are things that you have to understand. And this is going back to that, okay, and this is back to like being in Asia and all that. And let me tell you, I don't know how this is going to come across, but in some way, like, the gangster people, like you call it, the Godfather of the world and all these, they're the loyal people. They're more loyal than some of these other people that I work with. Like my father worked. He was an accountant, but he just was account for somebody that was very important. Okay. And they came after him. They blew up his hand. They came and shot my house. His boss took care of me, took care of him. So my point is, that is loyalty. I go to Chase, they don't give a crap about me, man. I work for them, bust my tail for them, make them months money, don't care, and all these are things I'm saying. I didn't realize who should I be loyal to. I didn't understand that. When I grew up, I thought banking, doctor, lawyer was the most, ethnic, the right people, honorable people hurt us. That's just the opposite.
Mm.
That was a hard lesson for me.
I hear that. You got a comment on that, Jerome?
Oh, you're just gonna pull me in one way
Yeah,
or another.
Yeah, I want to get you in. No, I want to get you. I want to make sure we get your opinion because it matters. And again, you know, there are things. There are a lot of people who just listening in that are trying to start businesses, that are trying to look at ideas, and they don't know anything or haven't heard anything. So this is what the whole purpose of this conversation is to have it just so that your point of view can be heard. There might be someone who's listening who's got a nonprofit, who's feeding homeless over in St. Louis and deciding to do that anywhere across the country. And your opinion matters. That's why we say
okay, sir. Way to gild the lily. Okay. All right. That was my form of protest, but you broke me. Okay, here we go. And so the deal is that my background is, dealing with intellectual property, dealing with investors, so on and so forth. I noticed that my money, my investors, either came from the East Coast or the West. Okay, and I found that dealing with, I was invited to speak on forums, and I actually went to a lot of those forums, just as an attendee. And I've learned that, especially dealing with the crowd, people of color, the responses were different than to the white counterparts. So I found it very interesting that most of the time when you're dealing with those panels or dealing with a Black audience or an audience of color, they would basically be just beating on them, just saying, "Oh, well, you're not doing this, you're not doing it." Da 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 da. It was the language was very demeaning. They were talking down, just a lot of scolding. Maybe disguised, but it was basically came down to scolding. I've seen some the white counterparts. We were dealing with the finances and what have you, and it was all, "Hey, you know what? Da da da. Oh, what have you? Jeff. Oh." You go to those guys. All right, cool. Talk to me after this. You can see it happen in real time.
Right.
You can see it happen in real time, especially in St. Louis. I thought some of those things would be different when some of my responsibilities were pulling me in the private sector. I mean, sorry, in the not-for-profit area, and it was more the same. It was really more the same. People get it confused. Because you're dealing with a not-for-profit doesn't mean you're not making money. Okay, some of these not-for-profits, churches are not-for-profits. They're making tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars a year. Okay, so a lot of things come down to the access. And I know I'm maybe getting a little off subject here, maybe a lot off subject, but blame Benji. He got me on there. Like I said, I don't see color. But the deal is, I can sniff a revolutionary. We know we smell. We're like like the deal. But the deal is that we're dealing with such a gap between the haves and the have-nots that at this point it's just absolutely just ridiculous. Okay, it is absolutely ridiculous. I am seeing some of these not-for-profit charities are doing over almost 100 million, maybe 200 million a year in donations and what have you, and they're not even doing their delivery pickup runs. Something's wrong. Somebody's holding on to the money. The process is being corrupted. Okay, so all that being said, probably my fifth time trying to wrap this up, but all that being said, we really do have to invest in our communities. We really do have to start learning to trust and build true relationships within our communities. These are the people that you're going to see when you walk out the door and you're watering your lawn or you have mutual interest where you want to help build up maybe your schools or your commerce in your area. So I found that it's more It's more important to deal with people in your backyard at this point in time, especially at this point in history, than dealing with people necessarily across the nation, on another side of the country. And that's kind of getting back to where Benji was talking about for his relationships building with the bank and so on. It really, all the stuff I just said, it really comes down to the relationships. It really comes down to that. Okay. And I think that especially when we find that the lacking of equity, the misunderstanding of quote unquote what equality is supposed to be, we have to count on working more with our neighbors. We have to work more in our community because we can see those dollars being used. We can monitor. We can get feedback in real time to see these projects that we want to help enrich our community take off. Okay. And I saw some things from Gordon. I've seen some things from Samuel, yourself, that is, and Benji, and many of the things that I hear you guys talk about. You're putting the emphasis on for us. Maybe the accomplishments are great, but it really comes down to a very intimate relationship between yourself and the people that you hold in your circle and in your community. That's where the true credit lies. I found myself in situations, especially going across country or across the ocean, where the credit that I had with my friends and family was more valuable than the credit I had with the bank at the time. Okay. It was the people that see you working and knowing what you're working on. My not-for-profit work, I use the term, I hate to say it, but I'll tell people, we're working to try to get donations. I'm feeding, we have adjusted our numbers. I should say 2,000 families, working on 3,000 families a month to make sure there's something on their table. Okay. And I'm calling, we have a snowstorm being, Snowmageddon 2026. We're working on that. I'm calling some of these great donors, and they're telling me, Jay, we know what you're doing. We love what you're doing. We appreciate you. There is nothing on the shelves right now. There is nothing. It's been a run on the stores. So I don't get to say, oh, okay, we tried today, because I know there are people that are going to come to me that need something to help their family out. Or is it's that senior citizen that has to say, okay, this time I have to buy the medicine and skip the meal. Okay. Or vice versa. We sometimes know it's not an option. You have to just work harder, and I will personally fund whatever, like when we come up short, it come out of my pocket, and I have some people in the communities, and they say, they'll offer me they might have like $2 or $3, like, we see what you're doing, thank you, here's something. And I know it means a lot that they're offering it. I don't accept it because I know that's their last. So I simply will go without in order to take care of my community. So you want me to talk? There you go.
No, we appreciate that. It's an opinion. Everyone here has an opinion, and that's the whole purpose of it. We just want to hear it. You talked about community. I think each and every one of us is somewhere along the line brought the word community in here, and this is exactly why we are here. And I hate to say it, make it sound cliche, but you're here to uplift our communities. Our communities, we got Texas, we got Oceanside, we got St. Louis. Hey, man, that's a wide swath between here and there, between us. And it's really important to open up and discuss these things. I didn't want to have it all brought up on that race. I mean, not the race, but the finances, but that is huge. But something that I did want to bring up for me that I think that I didn't learn about up until now, that I brought up when we first started having this conversation, was, man, as an older person now, man, stretching is important for me. Getting up and making sure that I stretch before I go out and do things. Man, there is my body is changing in so many different ways, and I'm not a little kid anymore. So, you know, the energy that I used to have to get up and just go run and just think that I can go up and not be affected by it. This weather this past year. We're still in the California. This is our California winter. It's raining. California winters are just rain, and when it rains, yeah, it's tough. But for those of us who have had knee surgeries and things like that, I'm at the stage right now in my life where I feel the rain coming before it comes. My knees start hurting. I got joints and things that over the years, you know, I've had football injuries and broken fingers and knee surgeries and things that when that weather, I don't know, it's barometric pressure comes, man, I did not know about the importance of stretching myself, getting myself warmed up before I do things. And that's been a huge thing. And I'll say this within the last couple of years. I never thought that was going to be something that I had to do.
Well, I never had to deal with that issue because I've always been in shape. So, I mean, you know, the small print, the small print is a circle is a shape, right?
Yeah, a circle is definitely a shape. That's for sure.
Got it covered.
And so is a triangle. But yeah, we are definitely changing. And yeah, with all that being said, yeah, I think that this was definitely a good subject to discuss. I wanted to kind of follow up with this because I had listed some other questions that I wanted to ask in conjunction with what we were talking about. And I'm going to sit back and I'm going to start with you, Gordon. I'm just going to ask one of these, and I'm going to kind of go round robin. But let me see. In with what we were talking about, and I guess when I got down, Gordon, your thing was finances. Benji had brought up discipline. Jerome, your thing, which I thought was important, is respecting others' times. That, to me, has been one of my biggest things as of lately. There is probably nothing worse for me than getting with someone and setting your day aside to work with someone or help someone, and they don't show up or they don't give you that respect and say, hey, I can't make it or whatever. Now, I understand things happen, but man, when I personally put my effort out and I go out to do something for someone, I make sure that because that person has already came to me in a moment of crisis or needs help. And that's why we're here to do. We're here to help. So when you go out there and you reach out with someone and you go out of your way and they just kind of shine you off or don't even respond, or that is probably one of the things where I say, okay, see, this is why I don't leave the house sometimes. This is why I don't engage sometimes. People make mistakes, but that is important. The other thing that I was doing as I was taking notes, in particular with what you mentioned, Jerome, was I think with each and every one of us, articulating and communicating are two of the biggest things that kind of got us to where we are this day right now. If we weren't able, Benji and I weren't having conversations and weren't able to articulate, hey, let's do this. Let's have these conversations. Let's start recording this. If we didn't put these intentions out, we would have never have done it. If Gordon and I hadn't had conversations after meetings and talked about uplifting our community or doing an app, we wouldn't even be here. We wouldn't even be having these discussions. Jerome, you are a whole different thing. When I have conversation with you, it's just I've met you on a friend tip, and it's turned out we're more brothers in our own separate ways. And there's more ways than one. The articulation that each and every one of you actually displays is what is important to me. I can hear and I can listen to the words that you say and how it come about. To me, okay, Benji's serious when he says that. Oh yeah, I know he really means that. When I hear Gordon say it like that, and then I see how he handles his sons, oh, I get it now. I see what he means. So it's very important, very important. Before I go on to the next subject, anybody have anything else they want to add on to this before we move on?
Just say hello to Denise.
Denise, is she in there?
Yeah, she's in the comment.
Oh, how are you seeing that? Tell Denise to come on in. Oh, I'm sorry, Denise. I did not even see you. Come on in, Denise. Come on in and jump up in here. Are you in there? It should be up there. The link, there is a QR code right there. You can come on in. We have Grace. Let me see. Is that Denise? Come on. There you go. That's it.
Yeah.
So, anyway, up until, or if we get Denise in, again, it is very important for us to articulate. And I'm sorry.
No,
I
we're
got thrown
good.
off, guys. Go ahead.
No,
Ben.
no, we're good. I think we all have this thing about community. One of the things that hit me hard when Mr. J. Harris mentioned this, I really need to work on my community as well too. That including the people I'm here with. Okay, and this is our conversation about the truck that you require. I have like people truck everywhere here. They're just sitting here. So I need to go knock on their door. Hey, are you using your truck? If not, I have somebody who could use that truck. I have freezer full of food here in my neighbor. He got 2 freezer of deer meat, right? I bought him a freezer for Christmas just because I want to put food in there, right? We have things here that we can share, not just for our community, but the community, like, with other communities too. So everybody here gonna want to help each other. They want to. My thing is, I have never been open enough to ask him or been allowed them to come and ask me because I'm kind of like in my own space sometimes. But what you're saying is correct. We got to get better with that. We got to be good with our own neighbor, our next door neighbor, a guy across the street from us. We got to take care of them. I don't barely know. I know one guy. And I know there's like 100+ people in the neighborhood, right? And I've been here almost 2 years now. So that's being that that tells you a lot. And so one of the things that we have to do is cultivate our own neighbor, our own backyard neighbor, right? Say, hey, I got people here that, like, for example, like like I mentioned, they have a lot of resource here. They're just sitting on it, okay? But when things get tough, they'll take care of each other. We still human. They still want to do that. We got to give them the channel to do it. Okay.
I was going to ask Gordon, do you have problems communicating with your neighbors at all? Do you know your neighbors on both sides?
I do, and that's actually thanks to my wife, because my wife. So back in like 2007, my wife and I were talking about what we can do to be more involved in our oldest son's life, so that as he got older and older, we knew who he was hanging around with, what kind of kids he was hanging around with, all of that. And my wife already had like a little network of moms here in the neighborhood that she communicated with. And so we actually started having children's virtues classes here at my house when my son was like 7 years old. And that was because my wife knew a lot of the parents in our neighborhood, mostly the moms. And so through that, we were able to kind of build a little community network where I know the neighbors on both sides, I know the neighbor in front. And so we got to know each other somewhat well because the kids were all hanging out at my house, right? You don't want to send your kids to strangers' house, right? I could be a decent person, but you don't know that until you get to know me. And so that kind of community is, it's so valuable. I don't think we fully understand. Both Benji and Jay kind of touched on that. Benji was talking about, not directly but indirectly, in the future, money is probably not going to be such an issue, right? And so when money's not an issue, if we don't have a network of friends and we don't have a community that we can lean on, that's going to be something that we're going to miss really hard. And then, when Jay was talking about, he was kind of basically what I thought when he was talking is that your net worth is equal to your net work, right? And so that circle of friends that you have around you, that's something as a parent that I kind of lean on. I have a lot of friends around me that have young people or young kids that are around the same age as my kids. And for me, it's so valuable that I can feel so comfortable sending my kids over to their house and know that they're going to be surrounded by quality people. I don't have to worry about who they're hanging around with. And also they have value that they can share with my kids that I might not have. And so it's almost like that whole that what's that say? It takes a village, you know.
Mhm.
And so that is something that I don't think we've as you know, I want to say Americans, but more so here in the US, I don't know that we fully understand that, right? I don't think that we're not so community oriented as we could be.
Mm.
Well said. Well said.
Jerome, do you know your neighbors on both sides of you, Jerome, or however your living situation is? Do you know your neighbors?
You know what? You be throwing the shade. You make it think I'm like I don't have a house. What I live somewhere. Oh, you know,
that's no shade.
Man.
I don't know what your living. I haven't visited your spot in St. Louis.
Let me check the tent next to me. I'll be right back. Hold on. My friend, ladies and gentlemen. All right, yeah. I grew up in what is called Walnut Park area in St. Louis, Missouri. So the deal is that we knew our neighbors. It wasn't a rich area, okay, but not by a long shot. But that was one of the beautiful parts of the community is knowing the people around you. And I found that it was weird that my friends that lived in rich areas, they could have lived in those houses 10 plus years. They'd never talked to their neighbors. There was no real relationships. So like the more money they had, the less they actually talked to the people around them. Okay. But but it was from the cradle, always about knowing your neighborhood, the people around you. It was very key for safety, and it was very key for community.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's pretty evident, but that's also we have to change that narrative, right? Part of my responsibility is to share this with my best friend kids and grandkids of how to get from here to there and how to stay humble and connected with your community because they're the one that have my back for all these years. That was the hard lesson for me because you have to play the board game, and in order to play that board game you got to play this role. But time changed now. We are now we have a way to change that board game, and this is where that when I say this in a passionate way, I have to uplift my team to get everybody because I've been there. I know what it's going to take to get to the next level, right? That's not just our people, but everybody in my neighborhood to be that way too. And that's a big deal. We got this opportunity to make this world a better place. Because of AI, we can choose that right now. And this is a really pivoting point in the next, less than 3 years, things are going to change so much. It's ridiculous. At some point, the humanoid surgeon is going to be coming up. These guys are going to be able to replace surgeon in 3 years. Better surgeon. And it's happening now. It's getting the final stage now. At some point, you're not going to need a surgeon. Okay? Things like that in less than 3 years, right? Imagine all that's changing. Now, this is where with like a label warning, we could also go sideways really, really bad. And it's the other way too. So that's where we are right now. Okay. So on that note, keep working on our community, keep on focusing, be more, like for me personally, I have to be more like personal, which I'm really not. I'm personal to you guys, but the rest of the time, I'm pretty much on my own. I'm doing my own thing. Like I can't just walk in my neighborhood because they got gated community and they got big dogs. So I would have to go, hey, help. Could you put your dog in?
That's one way to get to know your neighbors. Help!
Wow. That's something. Well, I would definitely say that with that being said, Benji, you definitely gave us a word and a mission for this week. Being that we meet here every Fridays, starting from 2 p.m., we hope to get anybody that comes in and interested in commenting to please join in. We do have an app coming soon that we are still working on that is actually in beta that we are working on. Please go to www.upliftourcommunity.com is our website that we will be loading up with businesses and those individuals who are interested in uplifting their community and supporting those in our community. This is the purpose of why we are here. Thank you, Benji, for saying that, because my go-to for you guys this weekend is go out and meet somebody new this week. Go out this week and meet somebody new. Jerome, you can go out your tent and then go talk to somebody.
That's just cold, man. That is so cold.
I didn't get you on that one. But wherever you are, be appreciative and respectful of other people's times and those that you're around. Say hello, speak to somebody that you haven't. Just go out your way a little bit. And with that being said, thank you for watching, and I wish each and every one of you a great week. Until next time, everybody, take care.